Hello and welcome to this week's Elite Audio video. And this week I have been testing extensively the Revival Audio Atalante 3 loudspeakers. Now, it's no secret I am a huge fan of Revival Audio. In fact, I have a pair of Atalante 5s in my listening room at home. So the question is, just how good are its smaller sibling? To find out how I got on, please stay tuned. All is about to be revealed. Welcome to this week's video, and it's a couple of weeks since we last spoke. And before I get started, I just want to thank those of you that recently have reached out to just say how much you're enjoying our YouTube channel. It honestly does mean a huge amount to hear that feedback. We do really care what you think, and I can tell you honestly, when I'm sat in front of this camera talking to you, my goal is to make sure that it's as interesting, informative, and at times maybe entertaining, maybe not for the right reasons. But anyway, it's great you're enjoying what we're producing, and we will continue to do our very best to do the same in the future. Anyway, today this is all about the Revival Audio Atalante 3s. Now, as I said in the introduction, it's no secret I'm a huge Revival Audio fan. I love the design concept, the retro look of the speaker range, and for me they've just always done something that just connects me with the heart of the recording. And I know when we met up with them in Munich recently, and we spent some time listening to some new models they've got planned, which were just staggeringly good, but again, revisiting the existing range and my favourites within that range. Having come from other rooms, it just reinforced to me just how good these loudspeakers are. So anyway, let's get straight into the specifications. So first of all, let's talk about the internal wiring. So the internal wiring is Vanden Hull cable. It's a halogen-free, oxygen-free copper stranding wiring setup. In terms of the drivers, it's a two-way loudspeaker. There is a 28mm soft dome tweeter. I'll come to the internal details on that in a second. And then there's a 7-inch Basalt Sandwich woofer as the main driver. The styling is without question retro, and it just screams that retro look. I've got to say, I really honestly love what Revival have done here. They're all handmade in France, so these are not manufactured anywhere else, and the driver designs are custom by them, and I think that's a crucial part to why they sound so good. In terms of the styling, as I've said, it's a retro style. I love the laser etched logo, which has kind of got a sort of a Japanesey kind of look and feel to it, and the veneers are in fact hand-picked walnut veneers, and they look great. Every single pair of these that I've ever seen, they look absolutely fantastic. Coming back to the tweeter, now it's got a very clever piece of patented technology which they call ARID, which stands for Anti-Reflection Inner Dome. Now, as I say, it is patented. The key purpose of this particular piece of technology is to absorb resonance, and it does so fantastically. And over 95% of resonance is absorbed by this additional piece of technology, meaning that you do not get cross pattern or frequency interference coming back into the driver and creating a distortion field, meaning that you get a very clear and detailed top end, but without any grain or fatigue in the listening process. The woofer is a Basalt Sandwich. Now, basalt is effectively lava stone, and what Revival have learned is that this material, when it is sandwiched in such a way, has incredible damping characteristics, but it's also lightweight and incredibly rigid. In fact, it's stronger than glass fiber and also Kevlar. So it's lightweight, rigid, it's fast, so you get tight dynamics, and the rhythm and timing of this loudspeaker is phenomenal. It honestly is. Moving on to the build quality aspect of this. Oh, actually, one other thing just to say, it does actually go down to 44 Hertz, which maybe doesn't sound low, but again, if you think about most recordings, that's covering down to a lot of the low frequencies. And when I listened to it in our small listening room, the low frequencies were beautifully extended. You didn't feel there was anything lacking in the bass at all. And in fact, it sounded like a much bigger loudspeaker, which I guess is what manufacturers strive to do with a stand mount speaker. And if you ask any audio engineer, they will tell you that technically a stand mount should give you a better sound, because on a floor stander you get frequencies spilling down the cabinet, and that then literally goes onto your floor. I know it paints this kind of vision of water spilling down the cabinet, out the drivers and onto the floor, but in essence that's kind of what happens. With a stand mount you don't get that effect, therefore again, when in the listening position you get better rhythm and timing. Anyway, onto the build quality. As I mentioned, these are handmade in France, and it's very clear there is a passion and a real attention to detail that's gone into the manufacture of these. I know when I've spoken to Zeno, who is the main engineer at Revival, you can tell just by that glint in his eye, he really cares. I mean, he just has that passion and enthusiasm that you know that when he is coming up with the concept of the speaker design and the componentry and unique elements of the driver design, and you know, things like the ARID, which is the anti-reflection inner dome that I mentioned previously, you know there is so much thought gone into saying, right, okay guys, blank sheet of paper, how can we make this sound incredible? And it does, you know, this is the thing, the construction of it, it looks much more expensive than it actually costs. I mean, it looks and feels like a true luxury product. If you think about, you know, the retail price with stands is like £2,700 or £2,800 approximately. I'll bring the exact price up on screen. They defy that price point. I mean, I know loudspeakers that cost way more and don't look as good and don't sound as good. I think every single Revival loudspeaker I've ever listened to just defies its price point. I know in Bristol, when we launched the Atalante 4s, most people when they came into a room thought they have to be more than £10,000. Yet, you know, they are bizarrely crazy value for money at under £4,000, and people were genuinely shocked at that revelation. Anyway, so this leads me on to sound. What do they sound like? So I used some of my favourite test tracks, which were Deep Purple, Lazy, which is off the Machine Head album. It's like a story from start to finish, this track. It starts off slow, builds, it's got a big Hammond organ piece right at the start of the track, which on some systems that can sound really edgy and almost to the point you think, well, I need to turn that down a bit, it's hurting my ears. Not with the Revival Atalante 3s, they just gave you the detail, but all the texture was there, but there was no harshness. And this, I guess, comes back to this 28mm soft dome, which is actually coated with a special material. And it's obvious they've put so much thought into this design. I also played Sanson Danse Macabre, which again is a great classical piece. And what I love about this is the way that it builds and builds and builds, and you come to this huge transient, you know, about halfway through the track that demands, it's demanding for any system. I'd really recommend it as a test track for you. It starts off very quietly, so you'll probably find that you turn the volume up too high at the start and suddenly find yourself turning it down later on. But when the violin first comes in on the Revivals, that texture, the bow across the string, you could really sense the musician's art and skill, and it was so beautifully conveyed with the Revivals. I mean, even Dire Straits' Iron Hand, Mark Knopfler's vocal, I mean, he's got such a characterful voice in any case, but on the Revivals, again, they were beautifully presenting this sort of his voice floating in midair, but with all the texture and body and everything you would expect. I mean, they're great. I mean, they sound big, they really do. They're smooth yet detailed. They're just a great loudspeaker, and you can tell I absolutely loved them. There's great reviews out there. Honestly, if you go searching for reviews, you will find that every reviewer, bar none, has loved the Atalante 3s. So they're definitely worthy of being on your shortlist. And I'd go and say to you, if you're looking for that style of speaker, but something that will really enhance your audio system, and that's your budget, I don't know of a better loudspeaker. I honestly don't, at that price point, under £3,000, to give you all of that. Honestly, it's crazy. And kudos to Revival. They really do give you more than you would rightly expect at that price. We just delivered a pair of Atalante 5s to a client of ours, and he wrote an amazing review on reviews.co.uk. But I spoke to David, and his feedback was, oh my goodness me, Mark, what you said was everything and more about these speakers. They just surprise in a good way. So there you go. An amazing speaker, an amazing price, and a fantastic compliment to the team in Revival that have put so much into creating such a musical device. So I come to this point in the video where I always have a small favour to ask, and that is, if you've enjoyed this video, if you've enjoyed any of our past videos, please just take a few seconds to like the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. As I said at the start, it means so much to us here at Elite Audio that you're following what we're doing. We do this with a lot of passion and care, and we love the products that we're bringing to you. And this week is no exception with the Revival Audio. So, as I say, please take a few moments to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. As you will know from watching the last video, we are producing videos on a fortnightly basis. We may go back to the weekly one. However, one reason is that me personally, if you inquire now on any sales things, it'll be me that will be dealing with all sales inquiries moving forward. And that's something I've noticed. I've been doing this for the last 2 weeks now. I am loving being more interactive with you guys, honestly. So please, if you're in the market for something, give us a call. I love to chat to you about HiFi and helping you make a great decision on your next purchase. So pick my brains. I can never talk about it. I think as often in these videos, I think, well, that was a short video, and then by the time I get to the editing part, it's like 30 minutes long. And I think that didn't feel like 30 minutes. And the same applies when I'm talking to you guys about HiFi. So please pick up the phone. Here's my own direct email address as well. I'll reply to every single email that you send in. So thank you for watching this week's video. And as ever, have a great 2 weeks listening to music. And until the next video, please take care.